Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Bruce B opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
I get it. Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyenji.
Okay. What's that? Nsila ID soto.
Sorry. I get it.
Bijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariya.
Mbale.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Jannom Yona Forest de Bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi man domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat.
Apelenta
baraka. Ni ma lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Baraka.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
Hello and welcome to the brunch on Kerpatu Live. I'm Lamin Chan. Today in the brunch, which unfortunately is starting a little bit late, we will be discussing two major topics. The parliamentary inquiry into the sale of Jammeh assets, which have been major talking point in the country for the last 2 weeks, will be one topic. Another will be, does the Gambia has oil? Where is the oil? And how is the stage of exploration, if there is any? Or is Senegal actually using our oil? Well, we will follow the oil and try to find out. For example, ex-President Yaya Jammeh has already accused Senegal of stealing our oil and criticized the present government for complicity. We will try to give our thoughts on these issues in the next hour. And with me in the studio to do that is Dodou Jah. Of course, Dodou Jah is a politician, a Gambian affairs commentator and analyst. And Musa, also known as Scribbler. He is teacher, he's a civic society activist, and he's an analyst also on current affairs. Mr. Ba, welcome.
Thank you.
You definitely looks a little bit new on the brunch. Have you ever been on any brunch? No?
Yes, I have been here.
Oh yeah, with myself on the chair?
Yeah, yourself.
Maybe I am getting old, so I forgot that. But welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dodou Jah, of course, no stranger to this program. Welcome, Mr. Jah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chan, for having me.
Good. Let's begin with the issue that has really dominated the last couple of weeks. Demonstrations in the street of the Gambia. It was quite rare since the days of the 3 years Jotna and the other group opposed to it. But we saw spontaneously young men taking to the streets and demanding information or honesty. They said comprehensive honesty they demand from government on the state of the assets of Jammeh following the Republic's investigative article on that. We saw the government back down, met the demand, well, in quotes, of the protesters by releasing what they call was a list, although we had subsequent queries also about that. And the protesters who were detained were released unconditionally. So we see the government actually bow down to pressure. And the protesters also demanded that the president address the nation, which also happened. So the government was rattled a little bit over the issue. And now the matter is going for a parliamentary investigation. Have we seen the end of this thing, or are we just bracing ourselves, you think, Mr. Ba, for even more tension over this matter?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chan. I will start by saying that what has happened in the past week, 2 weeks, I can say now, it's a lesson. The lesson is that of transparency and the urgent need for communication, accurate and timely communication from the governors to the governed. You see, had there been communication, proper communication, timely and accurate, perhaps many of these things could have been avoided.
All right.
When the Journey Commission completed its report and submitted, and the sale of assets began, I think there should have been communication. The government should have communicated properly, accurately to the people, because actually they are there for and on behalf of the people. So whatever they do, they are doing it for the people and on behalf of the people. So it is incumbent upon them, therefore, to keep the people informed, not sporadically choosing what to say and what not to say. They should communicate effectively, tell the people exactly what is going on. There's a whole ministry of communication. There is a government spokesperson. I see no reason why, at whatever stage they are at, they cannot come out and inform the people that this is what is going on. We are doing X, Y, and Z. If there's a problem, this is the problem. So people will be informed. It could have prevented a lot of the problems that have happened. So I think what I will say here is that the government needs to come up with more transparent ways of dealing with things. You know, they say sunshine is the best detergent. Let them tell the people what is going on. So this could have been avoided. Having said that, I think we haven't seen the end of this protest, so to speak, because the list that has been issued, that has been provided, like you said, there are questions about that list also. Is it comprehensive? And the list itself asks more questions than answers. So there will be more agitations. I am expecting. Yes,
Mr. Yeah, you've been following all those developments. I've not had your comments since then. What have been your perception of what happened actually? The Jammeh assets have been a thorn in the flesh of, I think, this government for long. I mean, many people have been talking about the, criticism. Even your APRC actually started it first to say that, well, the Jammeh assets may have been mishandled. Back then, Fabakary Tombong Jatta championed that initial calls for transparency. But what happened 2 weeks ago actually took everybody aback. That's a mere investigation. Pandora's box, and everybody spontaneously jump up to put the matter into sharper focus. What do you think happened this time, Ron?
Like you rightly said, we started it. Yes. Most of those press conferences.
Yes, indeed.
And can vividly remember what statements and wordings were giving. The only difference here is we made mention that with Ian Kubature will throw the books at him. Why not Jammeh? It's like Jammeh's coming back is going to reveal or unveil certain issues that happen. But people who are saying why when APRC said it, the public did not react. The difference, that's what I'm highlighting here. We never produced any list or made mention of names. Now, compared to Mustafa Kedabo's article, the difference is, names have been mentioned. He has revealed even certain properties, items that were sold, how much it was sold for. So this is what led to the public outcry. And here, the influence of social media. It's not the first time it's happening. It has happened in other countries. And we say the likes of Kenya. And we saw what happened with the Gen Z. It's like it was kind of a replica. And here you take the Gambia police force, to accountability, the way they acted, the manner that they did. For me, it's miscalculated. It could have been handled in such a way they would have allowed them to protest or demonstrate, escorted them from the Christian graveyard to the Minister of Justice, just a stone throw. It will not even take an hour to coordinate that. Why not the police themselves be part of it? Show support and solidarity. Professionalism at times requires for neutrality. But at times, if you lean on one side, the public would tend to point fingers or accuse you of being biased or pro-government.
It's a good point. You mean if the police had handled it professionally?
Exactly.
By just allowing and escorting them?
Yes.
The whole entire
petition. Just taking a petition, that should not have created chaos. But instead, you came to the Act 22, where you found people seated, brewing attire. And you have to, arrest them without at times telling them exactly why you are arresting them. And what we should do from order from the top or order from above, these are things we need to learn from the past, especially, with what has been heard or revealed during the TRRC process. So we should learn from that. For me, I believe the police, they should have done better. The matter would not have escalated to that point. But sometimes the influence of politicians too would trigger certain issues because they tend to have a say or influence. Like for instance, calling certain senior officers and, trying to give them command or trying to give some dictates. It's not helping.
So you are emphasizing that it's important we have some independence for the police, from the arms of the government, that is politicians. That is what we say in the new constitution, but we still don't have it. But you still believe that the police can be able to exercise some independence or professionalism that is free from the pressures or instructions they might have got from their political masters.
Of course, they even do. You look at the police command from the IGP.
Yes.
You meet him in person, you go to his office. When you interact with them, what do you see? Professionalism. Likes of Pate Jallo, even so.
Yeah.
One of the longest serving police officers in this country and other high command officers.
Yeah.
I go to their offices, they sit me down and give me advice. Yeah. Which means the professionalism is there through when you interact with them.
It's just when political matters come that that's where they have their hands.
At times. And it came at a time when the IGP, Pate Jallo, they were on top. So those may be in charge sometimes, you communicate properly, but they act different. This is the way I saw it. But I believe if the IGP was in place, Pate Jallo and others, they would have handled it different. I personally always engage them and I understand them.
Because at least the next day, there was no clampdown on the
Exactly. For me, I believe that's when order from the top came, because they would tell them exactly what was needed. It could have been avoided. And the tactic, like what they're using, the youths or so many young people believe whenever you want to protest for any issue about corruption, you're denied permit. I think that's a challenge for the police. They need to prove that is not factual. And they need to partake in this protest, not only to issue permits. We've all went to apply permits, we've all gone on the screening and the like, and it is the police who is in charge. They always dictate the terms according to what the law permits them to do. For instance, you could say, I want to protest on this date. If it's not befitting, they'll tell you, no, you can do it on this date, but we are giving you this date. And in most cases, you comply, because what you need is you want to protest, you want to demonstrate. You can say, okay, I want it for 3 hours. They'll say, no, 3 hours, it's like a lot of time. We'll give you 1 hour. Okay, I'm going to start the procession from this place to that place. The police will tell you, no, that would obstruct traffic. You're taking it from this point to that point. They are in charge. All that they know is they give the dictates, and when they provide the escorts, it's going to be peaceful. Many a times they should not be telling people no, but they can dictate how. Not actually using dictate, but they can guide. They can guide how these protests or demonstrations will go. And at the end of the day, it will be win-win on both ends. And life goes on.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree with this observation that if the police had handled, or perhaps grants permission to the group that's called GALA, that we later know as GALA, Gambians Against Looted Assets, you mean the situation would have been handled in a proper way?
Yeah, I agree totally. But like I said before, all this could have been avoided by using communication properly. Now, failing that, and we come to a stage where an article has come out on the Republic, and so many people have read it and are angry, and they want to go out and show their frustration. It was a very simple calculation for the police. They should have granted this permit and then provided the necessary guidelines, how to do it, when to do it, and how long, and even provide officers to go with them. It would have lasted less than an hour, and everyone will go home. One thing needs to be kept in view here. The world has changed. The internet has changed the dynamics of politics, of everything, in fact. In the beginning, or in earlier times, information flowed very slowly. People will not realize or will not know about something for days, sometimes for weeks. Now things have changed. At the click of a button, everyone can be aware of something. Everyone has a smartphone. So people need to adapt to the changing times and know that when something happens, everyone becomes aware. And as
human beings, we are different in our temperament, in our intelligence level of, education and all. So when information spreads like that, and the possibility is always there because of the mobile phone, and everyone interprets it in his or her own way. So people may interpret things differently. So therefore, management is the best policy. The police could have managed this well, like Mr. Jah said, issued them a permit, even come out and join them. It will last less than an hour, and people will show their anger, their frustration. The media will pick it up, and it will be the talking point, and then they will go home.
It has to do with the government's obsessive fear for demonstrations. We know on the Gambia, it was taboo, in fact, illegal to hold any demonstration anyhow. I'm sure about it. That was it. Yeah. So the government also seemed to be very, 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 how would I call it, much in fear of anything that looks like a demonstration. And being a democratic government, being what seemed to be expected to be more democratic, I mean, they should be a little bit more tolerant when it comes to people protesting. And again, what does this say of the Public Order Act, the notorious Public Order Act that everybody said should either be scrapped or reformed, to be in line with modern day democratic tenets? What did this all say about?
Indeed, and this brings us all to that very important issue, the Public Order Act. I think, in my view, the Public Order Act needs to be reviewed, because as it is, it does not serve the purpose for which it was intended. It brings about ideas also on how independent can the police be. If the IGP is appointed by the president, and the law says that only the IGP or his chosen representative can give permit, then this calls into question whether there will be that independence to give the permit. Because it's like telling someone that I want to come out and protest against you, and you have the power to tell me yes or no. Now, this may be out of topic here, but I think there needs to be a more sort of independent regulatory authority for the police. An independent body that regulates, that is in charge of police affairs.
In fact, it's emphasized in the new draft.
It is necessary.
2020 at least, that police should be appointed, the chief of police should be appointed by an independent body.
Exactly.
Not directly
by the president. In that case, that person, that also has advantages also, even for the police and the public itself, because that body would now be responsible for making sure that the police have what they need to do their job. They are well taken care of, they are well compensated, they are protected by law and stuff like that. So I think it calls into thorough inward searching. Riots and stuff. Many people, once you say protest, what there comes to their mind is riots. And a riot is not the same as a protest.
But one can lead to the other.
One can lead to the other, but it all depends on the management, like Mr. Jah said. If, for example, people are protesting, a peaceful protest, they want to march from point A to point B so that they will deliver a petition or something, and then you come out as the police with it's such powers that it's like you are going to a war. Of course it can escalate, but if the police join them, for example, they are provided with the required number of officers to go with them to provide security, it will be peaceful and properly.
And what rule of engagement I saw that people criticized in this gala incident was, okay, when the police arrive, normally the police, arrests and detentions will be the last resort. I mean, they will force a disperse. And then, when people say, why? It's because you don't have a permit. So we are here to arrest you. We just want you to be lawful. Disperse. And I mean, if you employ that kind of tactics, likely you will get cooperation.
Yes.
And if they had dispersed, then there wouldn't have been any sin. But when you come, you don't ask anybody, even there are people who may be passed by, and you rounded them all together.
All together.
So I think that approach was
and also you see that many a time, maybe not all the time, but many a time there's a contradiction here, because when for example a group of people apply for a permit to protest, sometimes the police will say we do not have men to provide security.
Yes.
That is one of the reasons that they give.
Yeah.
But if it so happens that those people come out, you know, you see hundreds of police officers coming to arrest them.
Yes. So it tells you that in the first place they just don't want they have enough men, but they say we have not enough cover.
Yes.
Not enough men to cover.
Yeah.
But when those people come, they have to tell them people
coming to arrest them. So where are these people officers coming from?
Why doesn't they? I will tell City. You never had men to cover demonstrators, but you have enough to arrest them.
So it's ironic.
Okay, interesting. So yes, after what happened, Dodou Jah, was that the government met the demands of the protesters by one presidential address. Promise for presidential inquiry, as well as Parliament also came to set up an inquiry. Which one do you think is going to address this better, the parliamentary one or the presidential? But people criticize the presidency for coming up always with one sort of inquiry or the other. We will look into this, we will look into that. So people had, but I mean, to be frank, people have very little hope for that. They now seem to be a lot more hopeful on the parliamentary one. But even there, we saw that the parliamentarians and the public to some extent were querying as to who should be the chairman and whatever. What do you make of these two?
Before I join into that, times, be it civil society,
yes,
or any organization that comes up for a cause that they're fighting for, I believe at times they like overstep boundaries, making demands or pointing at certain things from which authority. At times, you tend to ask. Why I am making mention of that, I've seen of recent after the gala protests, other youths also came together and said in defense of the law. They also said they're trying to.
It reminds me of
3 years, 5 years,
and the opposite.
Yeah, and
so
the 5 years
it looks
also.
like government or government sympathizers are
Yes.
suspecting that these people might be used by politics.
Yes.
In fact, Dembasabali almost said they have been used by politicians.
Yeah.
All right. So they said, okay, maybe the answer to this, let's go and put up a counter.
Yeah.
I see. So what do you make of that?
Yeah. What I want to emphasize
The latter group is not very popular in public opinion.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah, because it's just like the issue, it's not escalating, or they've not been giving much attention. Like on the other way around, politicians, when they push to that group too, it will be on conflicting side. This one is on the left, the other one is on the right. What is at stake? Gambia is at stake. So that's why I'm saying sometimes this group will say, okay, these are our demands, we're not backing down. At times you don't have those powers. When you want to fight for something, it should be a genuine cause. Because once you start, if it's few people starting it, others would come on board. You might have a genuine cause, but politicians like us have an interest. There are others whom that maybe they are anti-government, they also have an interest. You'll see they will steal the show from them and wanting to ignite it to another level. So it's a cautionary call that they should also be careful sometimes with certain demands that you are trying to push. When you talk about government, it's not only what you see. There are a lot of people who voted for the government, but is everybody supporting what you're doing? There are questions lingering or hanging. So they also need to be very cautious with at times the way you push things and not to use force. It's a country that has laws. We should try ourselves, be law abiding in as much as whatever we want to fight, we should not go outside the tenets of law. These are things, at times it will create some havoc for those who organize it. And looking at the comparison, like for instance, if I'm a politician and I'm part of a movement and I take a position and I take a stand, all people see the lenses they wear is he's a politician. Whatever interest I might have differently, they're just looking at me as a politician.
So that's why some politicians, some people say the politicians should step back, and so that the whole thing will look like a spontaneous anger by a group of people who are not politically motivated.
Yeah. Politicians have an interest, and their interest is with the masses.
Yes.
The interest, if it's not today, it's tomorrow. You're trying to make connections.
So opposition politicians will always associate themselves with anything that is definitely anti-government.
Plus civil society. The opposition politicians, they're mostly reliant on civil society. Because they tend to see civil society to put checks and balances on government and not them. So they will always try to push them from behind and tell them, go on. So these are issues that they need to look into. If it's a national cause, it must not lean on one side. It must not only lead on one side. But the mentality is that, okay, the taxpayers' money are given to them, so they should be the ones we hold accountable. Yeah. For me, accountability goes beyond that.
Okay.
Accountability definitely goes beyond that. Everybody who is a citizen or resident in this country, even foreigners, should be held accountable based on what the laws have provided and what is allowed and what is not allowed. It should be a general basis. But you cannot say, for instance, anyway the opposition operates or whatever they say or do, you don't tend to care much. But if it's the president or the government, whatever they say or do, we hold them accountable. It should go beyond that. If we want it to be a nationalistic approach, everybody, we're talking about Gambia.
Everybody in the public space.
Yes, we're talking about Gambia.
The way the politics
exactly.
should be accountable to what.
Exactly.
Okay.
So because there are a lot of people sitting on the fence, some don't care what government do. They're not into opposition. They always want to be part of what is right or what they feel is genuine. In order to get them on board, you must portray the stance,
exactly.
And you'll be able to convince them. There are a lot of people who started supporting, but when they see other politicians joining, making statements they fan back because they're trying to see that these people are now politicizing it. So they need to take a look at those aspects of it and not to try to use that force. Force you don't have unless it becomes something like you ignore the law and you exercise those rights. Now, coming into the special committee that has been created in Parliament, first and foremost, the composition.
The President said
yes.
Even he himself is only getting to know some of the things.
One thing about His Excellency President Adama Barrow, I've said it in certain platforms that he will not even harm an ant. It's by nature. Now, when it comes to governance and the way you deal with people, you need to show a different approach. Now, once you extend an olive branch to people, in this country, they take you for a fool. Anything we do, it's fine. He will not react. He will not do this. He will not do that. And this is how people protect the president. Whatever you do, it's right. He's not going to sack you. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do that. And for Gambians, we have attitudinal problem. At least leadership, not only the president, the ministers, the direction. When you are in charge of people, you need to show concern in what they do and the way that they do things. When it comes to policies, theoretically, I don't think it's a challenge in this country. We have well-written documents. The problem we have is practically to implement those. Look at the work ethics, for instance.
Yeah.
People go to work anytime they like. People close at work anytime they wish. Even when they have ceremonies, other activities, they stay at home or choose to do something differently.
Things that should be done.
Who is putting them in line? These are the issues. And most of you go to other institutions, the leadership is traveling in and out of this country. They're not even focused on what is happening at workplaces. So something needs to be done and somebody needs to regulate that. In as much as we're saying this is happening, that is happening, but attitudinal change also becomes a challenge. It's not only on the side of government. Drive around the traffic. What you see sometimes amazes you. You go to other countries, you see it differently. Okay. Just today coming, these people still are applying on, even when they were told that leave the highway.
Yeah.
The roads were clear, they're still back on the roads. Okay. This is the attitudinal change I am talking about. If people are not allowed to put, like, for instance, table to sell fruits on the highway, how do you bring a flock of sheep on the same spot? That was clear. I saw this.
Yeah.
When I was coming at Car Junction, I saw the PRU with their pickup. They're trying to clear it. That's the attitudinal change I am talking about. As a country, we should show patriotism and nationalism that this country belongs to us. We shouldn't wait for government to do what is right or whatever the president said. Now, the president said, I definitely applaud the speech he gave. For me, it's not about the land. It's what was said and what they intend to do as a government. I think that has to be commended for, bringing into play the National Audit Office and, the Parliamentary for them to perform oversight functions of looking into the affairs. People have started downplaying that. I said, no, give them the opportunity. Let's see what comes out of it. If somebody is showing willingness, allow them to execute that. For me, when it comes to parliament, the composition, some people complain about it. I said, there is no composition you would put in place that others will not complain about. So I'm not seeing this as just a special committee, but parliament's responsibility. I know there are parliamentarians who would not go to bed until they see that the needful is done. So I am taking parliament at like, this is the responsibility of parliament, not only the special committee. And let's see where it heads to, what they are going to do. I know Gambians are awake. On this issue, they are not going to bed anymore, unless and until what the general public is aspiring to see is executed. So this is the belief I have. And I believe whether they will get there or not, people are sitting and watching.
Until the APRC press release came towards the end of the crisis,
Yes.
People said your criticism is, or your response was lukewarm this time, or compared to before when you started campaigning for transparency.
Yeah.
You were more vocal at the time, they said. Now you are a little bit lukewarm, you know, in your criticism, just because you are now in bed with government, you know, whom people suspected of not being transparent with the matter. What do you say to these criticisms? Of course, a press release came from your party much later to say you still wanted transparency, even with reparations, etc. But what do you say to criticisms that you are no longer very vocal on this matter as you used to be?
That,
When Fabakar was saying, in fact, there are properties, people collecting rent from properties that belong to Jammeh that have not been covered by the council.
that is normal. APRC yesterday and today, there's a difference.
What is the difference? Just because it has in government.
The difference was APRC was entirely an opposition party.
Now it's in government.
And having the zeal to come back to government.
No, now.
You know, the way you operate and the way you do your communication will be different. But APRC today is part of government.
Yes.
APRC is part of the
So the
government.
language should change now.
Still an opposition, but part of government.
But now the language should change.
It must. Internally, there was pressure from the diaspora, you know, even the internal of party members. They're putting pressures in the forums that the executive must come forth and do something or say something.
yes.
So hence the press release. They have to show that they stand somewhere. You can't ignore it just like that, especially when the pressure is internal. You have to
So
come
see
out
the
and do
APRC
something.
leadership, if they had not come under pressure from people in the diaspora, APRC people in the diaspora, they probably will just take that lukewarm attitude and watch things to pan out.
Not only the diaspora, even the home base.
Okay, home
those that are resident here. Because as a party, Jammeh hate him, like him, he still has support in this country.
Oh yeah, we are coming to
This is something that people cannot take away.
coming to that.
And once it's an issue they feel has affected him, they will always sympathize.
So this is the problem that you people have with the other APRC.
Yes.
And the fact that you can't discredit the fact that you are in bed with people they believe have done wrong Jammeh, have done wrong to Jammeh in terms of the handling of his properties, at least.
But not necessarily that people.
Because that was your language yourself in the past.
No, like I said earlier, when we made our press releases, press conferences, we never made mention of names or to release any list of items or properties that were sold. What was the claimant was, we have a list. And not everybody was even entitled to know or see
Where's
this
the
one. With Rambo Jata
Well, he issued some bit of it.
yeah.
In fact, Rambo did.
He was taking inventory of what was given.
In fact, Rambo went out of his way, even though people might think that he is now in bed with the NPP government, but he went out of his way to come out and publish what he knew to be Jammeh's assets, and he wanted accountability on that. The containers, for example.
Yeah,
That was very bold of him, you know, because people thought
he's been saying it for a very long time. Now, if the issues come knocking, you can't ignore. And if not, people will come after you yourself. So he has to do the needful, and at least, if not all, and really some of what I believe it's not all.
List. The rest of the list.
It's with him.
Oh, it's with Rambo.
He was the one taking the inventory. The information was given to him
I'm
directly.
talking about is with him.
Yes.
So he should release more.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because even those containers, like the containers were many.
They were
They were many, and the items and materials in those containers too were many.
But those containers were they part of the the things Jammeh Commission sold?
Could be because they were in Kanilai.
Canela.
Yes, it was packed in Kanilai.
Could it have been stolen by people also? Oh my God.
Those allegations were made that people go to Kanilai randomly and take stuffs. They even accused those in India.
I went to Jammeh's house, but that was 2 years or 3 years after the commission had started sitting, and I saw everywhere is ransacked and things were tumbled upside down.
A lot of things were taken away.
So it's so. But who were there? Because that was the authority of the. It was the first time that TRRC, well, at least the lead council and people, that was the first time they went there. We found things tumble up and down.
I knew of
so
people.
Who were the first people to have been there?
I knew of people personally, some of whom even stayed at properties that were owned by Jammeh. The Jammeh Commission came and gave them notice to evacuate and left us in Banjul, in Kololi, in Kotu. These are people I know personally. Some of them called me and told me that we received a letter and they said we have to leave from the Jammeh Commission. So which means most of the people or those places sold the Jammeh Commission should know something about it. These are people I know personally and I see them up till today, that they used to live in those places and they evacuated. They told them to leave.
So those containers Rambo talked about could have been actually been disposed of by the Jammeh Commission or may have been stolen by other people?
On both sides. Because like I said, allegations came that people have been stealing from Canada.
Yes.
The question is who was in charge, who was in control? Like a resident of a former president? At least you should put people in charge.
But there was a command situation.
That was later, when they were writing the 4th Infantry, something like that. That was later, at a later time. But before then, it's like security was somehow loose.
You know,
but Jammeh had security in Kanilai, even during the whole election and what people call impasse. There were his for home who was always secure.
Yeah, but
until the last minute when economic came back.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
During those times, looting or ransacking didn't happen. It was later when they were removed. The question is who was in charge or who did they put in charge? I could recall, I think in 2018, we had an activity in Kanilai. And we needed the residential area so that most of the guests or the people coming to attend would stay. We wrote to Augustus Prom at the time. It was the receiver.
So then it was...
I took that letter. I made the follow-up until they granted us that place to use. But caution was given. There were people who were cleaning there all the time. There were people who had the keys. You know, the number of days we needed, I think was 2 days. Like Friday, the activity was on a Saturday and Sunday we're supposed to disperse. We used the place according to the directives given and all that, and we handed over keys, make sure the place was clean and the light. But I believe shortly after that program, Augustus Prom, was removed as a receiver. That's when Alpha
Capital
came into being.
Interesting. So
that gap created a lot of problems. Therefore, that means from the time that Jammeh's people left, and then no one has been appointed yet to take care of this place or these properties. Some people might have used that opportunity to take whatever they want. But now what we are seeing is that there is a convergence of views here. Many, that is the supporters of Jammeh, Dodou Jah's party and others, many of them are seeing perhaps that wrong has been done to Jammeh because of his properties. But majority of the Gambians also who are now talking about these looted assets are angry because, for them, not because something wrong has been done to Jammeh in their eyes, but has been done to the Gambian people.
Yeah,
so now I think that convergence should galvanize the investigation to ensure that finally the truth comes out. What has happened? Why did it happen? And who is in charge? Who is responsible? The Parliamentary committee will go delve into that. Of course, they will not only be the Parliamentary committee, but they can. Nobody says that they cannot use expertise from someone, technical advice and stuff. They can come to the to find out the truth about everything, and then a comprehensive report will be delivered. But what I want to say is that on this and any other issue, communication, regular and timely communication, should be at the forefront of all activities, so that people will know what is happening. You know, the time span that people's attention can be on something can be limited sometimes, depending on what is happening. We can be talking about Janneh Commission today. After 2-3 days or 2-3 weeks, something has happened and people's attention goes there also. And the people who are responsible will now say, okay, we are no longer being looked at as it used to be. So they can relax. So consistency is what is important here. People start talking about X and everyone talks about it at the time. And then after some time, something happens and many people's focus changes. And then the ones who started it will also move. So that is one problem that the Gambia faces. Our attention span can be very, very short, depending on how things unfold. So that is something that I think we find a way of making sure there is consistency. When we start something, let us not stop until we reach the goal that we set ourselves.
Okay, what do you make of, where did we get it wrong? And I'm still talking about the Gambian assets. Even after the Commission of Inquiry, we still don't know what happened.
Yeah, we don't know what happened because it was not communicated properly. If the government officials have told us that the Janneh Commission submitted a report, in fact, according to the Minister of Information, a comprehensive report was submitted to the president. But I heard in the same breath, in the same program, he said, but a list of sold items was never submitted. So I don't know, the meaning of comprehensive therefore is not, because if it is comprehensive it should cover everything. So why didn't they communicate that to the people at the time? You know, regular communication. Tell the people that this is where we are at. You gave us a mandate to do X, Y, and Z, and we have reached a stage. This is what we have done, and this is what has not been done yet. This is what we have discovered. So in that case, everyone will know what is going on. If items have been sold, the money is, this is the amount, and this is what we have done with it. So people will know. So communication is what is lacking here.
Mr. Jah, there have been a lot of explanations, and people are still none the wiser in this case. What's not, even after the inquiry, we don't know who bought what and for what price. And even the money that was supposed to have been realized.
Where is it?
Where is that money? And the third thing is, it's just a fraction of the properties identified, you know, that are known to have been sold. Where are the rest? We had the government said some of them might be used for official purpose, but which are the ones to be used for that, and which ones are there? If you take only 45 or something properties that they talk about, out of 289, that means even 90% of the properties are still not known, right?
That's true.
So those two things, what is the remainder? What happened to the remainder of the properties? And the $1 billion that has been realized from the ones that they said have been sold, where is the money?
I mean, the problem started when they went to the High Court to unfreeze so that the Janneh Commission would start selling. That should not have been the mandate of the Janneh Commission during the inquiry itself. What they should have done, if you dare to inquire, you want to find out how, where, when, who. These are things that should have been in record. If Dodou Jah has 35 properties, that should be in record that Dodou Jah has them. I can't carry these properties out of the country. They should have marked and labeled who has what do they have, where is it. All they should have been tabled. Now, when the Janneh Commission was completed, you submit a report. Now, in your recommendation, that's why you should talk about how it has to be sold. From the recommendation. Then you set up a team and give them the responsibilities when all the items, everything was identified. And that's when you determine at what price it should go. Now, this committee, if anything goes wrong, that committee that was entrusted to sell will be held accountable for whatever doesn't go right.
So how many people actually sold properties? Janneh Commission, even before we understood, even before it wrapped up,
He was selling. Yes.
after Augustus Prop, was that before or after Augustus Prop?
I think after.
After.
Yes.
When Augustus Prop was received, were they selling? Were they selling too? No, they were just receiving.
Yes. They were just receiving to manage.
To manage.
Yes.
Then Alpha Capital came and they started selling.
Selling, exactly.
So that means the Janneh Commission sold some, as well as the Alpha Capital.
Yes, and on the Batambedu's watch, because he was the one who recommended Alpha Capital.
Yes.
It's like Alpha Capital came for a special purpose.
That is to sell.
Yes, that is to sell. After the Janneh Commission, nobody heard about Alpha Capital anymore. Until the revelation started coming, then that's what is opening all wounds again. Let's see what was sold.
But why didn't they have the AMRC?
Yes,
At the time, but they never used it, and I even had like it's dissolved or disbanded now. It doesn't exist anymore. But the AMRC should have been the right to
Exactly.
the right to receive, which was constituted by law.
Yes.
I believe. So you cannot forgo them and try to bring any other private entity if you don't have an ulterior motive. That's why there are certain things that was not done rightly. There are people who sold all that they sold cannot be accounted for right now.
But if you look at Mr. Tambedu, you listen to his interview, and from what I gathered, he seemed to be surprised that despite that all what he was doing was on behalf of the government, people are not focusing on the act as a government act, but they were trying allegedly to blame him squarely for the things, when actually all what he said was, on behalf of the government. Didn't he have a point there?
Yeah, saying something on behalf of the government and doing something that is not,
That you have
approved by government. These are two different things. Take the case of Alpha Capital. He admitted Alpha is a friend, and he brought in Alpha, not the government. He cannot put that on the side of government. And it was by Tambedu himself.
But the ministerial committee included some other ministers, not him.
That came later. In the beginning, that wasn't there. Something must have warranted for that committee to be set up. But in the beginning, it wasn't there. When Batambedu took the challenge to conference,
that committee was
they went to Justice Amina Saho, who said, no, you can.
Yes.
Justice Amina Saho and he says, and they went to JT, why do you do that?
Okay, so
And somebody telling you no is based on law, but you still want to unlock it underneath or somewhere using other means. Something is fishy somewhere. And this interest, this is what you can clarify and take out yourself out of that dilemma. You cannot, because you do things that contrary to what the law recommended or what the law said. And look at another person, who came into the limelight of selling. You end up marrying her. Nothing wrong with getting married, but sometimes it becomes a conflict of interest. There are things that bind you together. And there are a lot of fingers pointing towards that. There are even, certain issues that were sold, and the lady was responsible for it. How do you justify that?
These are articles that the conflicts of interest that the public highlighted.
Exactly. And in the midst of what needs to be done, you have to resign.
Okay. So eventually he resigned anyway.
Yeah.
But how did his successor also handle this man? Because from that on, what we had was, no, we are not going to publish this, because if we publish this, it will impeach on the privacy of the buyers.
I think
they said they're going to give it a pipe.
No, wait. What in the market has it that Batambedu brought Dodou Jah?
I don't believe that.
I'm telling you what people are saying.
I can't.
That he brought Dodou was part of his thing.
Dodou was
People say, people will say,
recommended by everybody.
yes, people say, and people will continue to say. But here, like what you are asking, if you say you cannot release a list,
Yes.
then coming back later and said, that is because of pressure, I believe.
Yes.
It's because of pressure. When pressure mounts. Now, in the first place, what was right is to release the list.
Yes.
What was right?
Why
is
was
to
the
release the
government
list.
reluctant to release the list and taking the excuse that, well, it is going to really affect the privacy of buyers?
So, like I said,
who can say buy public property and you are still not wanting to be known?
like I said,
No, the issue
the government is elected by the people. It is doing whatever it is doing for and on behalf of the people. The saying that we will not release the list, that in itself was wrong. You are working for a people, and the people have given you a task. You have done this task, and this is your result. And people are asking, well, I sent you to go and do X, Y, and Z. What did you come up with? And you say, no, I'm not going to tell you. That is how it looks. We gave them the authority as a people. We voted for them and gave them this mandate. and they did the work and have a list, and now they're saying that we are not going to release the list. But ultimately, what do they say? Power is the people are the power. What has happened? They have finally released the list, albeit who knows whether the list is complete or it is accurate or not.
It goes back to what I said in the beginning. They're taking the president for granted. You can say, do things without fear. He allows everybody to execute their function. There's no fear like he will sack me, especially during the days of Jammeh. Whenever it's Friday, people always expect something. Yeah, this day. On the case of Barrow, it's something different.
Even as recent as yesterday, he said Friday is his day. He's still his day. I think let's go into Jammeh. You mentioned Jammeh. That's where we're going. Now, these days he's been talking a lot.
Yep.
He made some expulsions. I can't remember when he ever stopped expelling people from the party. He must have expelled now. It's 3 or 4 executive committees now. He never stopped expelling. But then, he said, he mentioned something that he said, there has never been any APRC. I mean, your group, according to Jammeh, it does not exist. He said there is only one APRC that is registered by him. He never mentioned that. No wonder he never mentioned about the other actors. He said you did not exist. How do you take that?
Well, legally, he also mentioned legally that there's only APRC.
Yes.
So, legally, maybe you are the one who shouldn't have carried APRC balance.
Well, every political party is registered in this country. And if you go to those who register it, you will not find an individual's name. You submit a list of executives. If you are alone in it, you cannot register it as a party. The law wouldn't even allow that. You must submit a list of executives. It means you did not register it alone, but there were people who joined you jointly to register it as a group, but not an individual. An individual, you go for independent. But you can't form a political party alone.
When did you people know that the party doesn't belong to Jammeh alone? When did you know that?
No, it
was expelling everybody during the party.
No.
When expelled my young Canon for the
yes
and then he expelled of Nyumi Chavi was the MP. He expelled him and so many others from the party.
By then, Jammeh was the president. Jammeh yesterday and today.
That has nothing to do with the party. He was using the party. He expelled them from the party.
That's what I'm telling you.
You didn't tell him then that you don't own the party.
President with executive powers, who dares to challenge him at the time? Nobody.
So now you know. Now you want him to know that. Now that he's out of power, you want him to know that the party doesn't belong there.
No, he himself knows. As a founder, you form the party, but you can't register a party single-handedly. The laws won't allow that. Unless if you want to become an independent. Now, saying my party, that is the notion. When you form a party, the leader owns the party. That is the notion in this country.
Yeah.
You mention any political party, they will call out a name or the name of the leader.
Yes.
And there is no internal democracy that will remove that leader unless and until the leader said, I'm not interested anymore or something else comes up. No internal democracy. In this country, that is what we have. And if that is not regulated, people will continue to claim ownership of political parties.
Except perhaps Doi. But even there, we started hearing now.
Doi, the leadership has been shifting between Halifa and Syria.
They call that personality flag bearer. That's not leadership.
No, leadership in it as no one else has control over how Doi form.
When it comes to party leadership, Doi has a different sort of.
When did you see a Doi press conference, headed or done by somebody different from this two?
I don't think.
Muhammad Kora will say that everything's about but
not only Kora,
not only that.
Some of their members in the diaspora said the same thing. Unless and until you show me differently. Now, today you sit in the open end and ask, who is their youth mobilizer? You'll go around keep asking. You'll not point a finger at anybody. Even the structures is challenging. You go to certain political parties. When it comes to decision making, it's different. Once you challenge the leadership, likelihood either you are out of the party or people will come and attack you. They will reduce you to zero within the party itself. So that internal democracy is not so facing practically.
But you haven't answered what Jammeh said, that you don't exist. His party his side is the one.
Well, I was coming to that. You go to the IEC, any political party, they will show you a list of those in charge of the party. And this emanates from the biennial congresses. It's part of the electoral laws that every 2 years, parties must go into congresses. And part of these congresses is elective. You need to send a list of your executives to the IEC, a list that these are the people in charge of the party. And IEC always recognizes that list, that these are the people in charge of the party. Now, Jammeh tried to send a list at the IEC with the Noto Alliance. The IEC rejected it. There's no Congress organized that the IEC attended until you choose a list. Congress is highest authority in any political party, and they've never gone for Congress. Either since Jammeh left the shores, there's no Congress they organized and said these are the list of people chosen. So that's not the way it is run. When it comes to legality,
in
Buyam, yes, in Buyam, I remember. Yeah, in Buyam.
no, that was the APRC. I'm talking about the Noto Alliance.
Oh.
They've never gone into Congress, and for that Congress to validate, the IEC has to be in attendance. They cannot attend to, witness the proceedings of the.
Well, their point was that the IEC refused to mediate between to consider it as two factions. And the IEC automatically recognized your faction and ignore their faction because, according to them, that's what suits the president who wants you people in alliance. That's their belief.
I don't want the numbers. These two.
Well,
between these two.
It's debatable because when it comes to parliamentary elections, it is the other side that actually won seats, more seats.
But
I don't know. Presidential election is difficult to tangibly say this APRC vote because even here, Parliamentary, the president won there, but who knows where APRC will already. So when it comes to parliamentary, we know that the Noto Alliance definitely had more seats than.
But Jammeh is saying that we should not call it Noto Alliance anymore. It's just APRC.
They gave that name to themselves. Nobody called them Noto, but they choose and said Noto Alliance.
They want to distinguish themselves from you.
Yes.
Since you said they cannot use APRC, you cannot stop us from using the name. But let's qualify.
Yeah, Noto Alliance.
For them, the issue of saying the IEC should mediate, the IEC cannot mediate.
They said in the case of the NCP, the NCP had a little similar problem.
I want to give the example of the NPC. So, being a member of the inter-party committee, what happened at the time?
Okay, what is the difference?
Majanko Musa and team, they had their congress.
Yes.
Then another team also had their congress.
Yes.
It's like now 2 congresses took place. They are both claiming right of having the legitimacy of leading the party. That is different from Noto Alliance. They never held any.
So you mean even Noto Alliance had attempted a Congress claiming to be APRC? The IEC would have come.
Exactly.
I'm not giving them a lesson now.
No.
Tomorrow they can
call Congress.
They cannot do it now in the name of the APR because none of them is part of the executive. What they should have done is stayed within the party to fight internally. But once you say, go ahead, we're not part of it, you create your own group and you give it a name, you label it. You see, in all their write-ups, they put APRC Babili Mansa, which means they've already accepted to be a faction of them. So you cannot come back and say the IEC should make it. They cannot mediate on this extent. So what do you make of it?
The Gambia or Senegal may have stolen oil from the Gambia. Okay, let's go back to this oil thing. From what we know, okay, let me talk about his time from 2003 when he had the call it Alhamdulillah projects. That was the first time. I remember watching him. I was not in the country then, 2003, I guess. He was showing video, in fact, trying to show all the programs in the floppy disk. At that time, it was floppy disk. He, since 2003, said there are potentials for oil exploration in the Gambia. There might be oil somewhere. He talked about how things pan under his regime, but he said after he left, the government of the day didn't do well in protecting what he said, allegedly our natural resources, and he believes Senegal is stealing it under Macky Sall, and he said he's disappointed that even the new leadership in Senegal does not seem to be committed to their own mantra, that is jubante, that is to be transparent. He said he's disappointed with Usman Sonko, and he said, do we even have oil? Because as far as we know, the FAR Limited, who were the latest explorers, said our potentials is not commercially viable. But Jammeh is trying to say, and other people have said the same thing, that we might have been hoodwinked by Senegal, allegedly with the complicity of our government. What do you understand?
It's a very sensitive issue and complicated at the same time.
Always sensitive.
And if caution or care it's not taken, it could lead to something else. It could jeopardize peace between two countries, and we've seen that. And once you take that step or it enters into that stage, you'll see third players that are interested in you selling oil in exchange for weapons. They don't care what you do to each other. They just want to benefit from oil. And countries would go to war because of oil. This is what we see.
But what is the real situation?
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Because we want government officials, we cannot get them here. We try to get the people who are responsible for petroleum, we can't get them here.
We can't get them.
It's more of wall politics. More of wall politics. I've been saying it. I said it, one of the reasons they wanted Jammeh out. I said it and I'll repeat it here. And I have said that when it comes to the oil business, 4 countries are in charge. 4. England, France, America, and Germany. I'll call out names. There are people who mention Russia. Russia is not in. England, France, America, Germany. Look out for any war 4. These countries are in it. From Afghanistan to Iran to Libya to Iraq, these countries, they're ready for their weapons, their warships, and all that. You think they fight this wars just for the case of democracy being, that is what is being used. But all these countries, look at the natural resources they have. And each country, their share is 23.75%. Multiply that by 4, you have 95. So they came to Jammeh with the 5%. He said, no. This is the percentage that they give it.
Oh, you mean that 90% is
shared equally among the 4, 23.75% each. So the 5% is yours. Take it or leave it.
Jammeh said he refused.
This is the world politics at play. They will not come to you directly as a country, but they're using those who are the ones who exploit. These companies are coming to you. But the bigger boss is there. They don't dirty their hands and you don't see them in the front line. That's why I'm telling you it's a sensitive issue and it's also complicated. It's bigger than what people think it is. They're the only ones who have the equipment to drill it. They don't allow anybody else to have it but them. This is why you take it or you leave it. You can drill it on your own. You need that. So these are things that they put in place.
So when Jammeh refused, what happened?
Be it Jammeh or whoever, once you say no, the objective is you have to go somebody else come. They want to renegotiate and enter into with somebody else. That's the world politics I'm telling you. That even you come in, you either agree or you won't be here for long. They don't dirty their hand. That's the world politics. I don't want to go deep into it. There's a topic of its own and it's going to unveil a lot of things. And you talk about it, a lot of people will not understand. During the impasse, I met people who used to work in government. They've showed me maps of our oil fields in the Gambia. I saw it with my naked eyes. Never had access to the documents to be given to me, but I saw it. I met people who told me, and even some of them were trying to lobby for other companies to come. It's more of a bidding process that they wanted. But a change of government sometimes is a change of administration, it's a change of plan, it's a change of ideas. A lot of things will shift from where it was to something different. And at times before you understand what was there, it takes time and the dimensions could change. And at times, if they are a step ahead of you, whatever is available, you take it. It's like you want to board a ship and the ship is gone. All you need is a boat to catch up. You have no choice. Join the boat, catch up with the ship. These are sometimes the instances that happen. But the possibilities are, what I've seen is a map. The possibilities are Gambia has. How much, to what capacity, I can tell. Hasn't been tested to know whether it's commercially viable or not. Far, maybe they had a report. Let's see what was in that report. And why only far? In such instances, you should make it at least 2-3 companies. Let them compete and see.
Let's get it clear. FAR came after the change of the government.
Yes.
And they left abruptly. And the reason was that our potential is not
commercially
viable.
Not only FAR, I think even Petronas.
Petronas. Yeah, you know, I mean,
there was a time even
I think what they do is they sell their rights, you know, to
Tony Blair even once came to this country. For what?
Jammeh mentioned when Tony Blair had he was actually walking all around the globe, doing some jobs for some business interests.
Now, Mr. Chairman, now you...
And he came here, yes, two times.
For BP, British Petroleum.
For BP, but the government will never say.
It brings us back.
When we saw him come to...
It brings us back.
Come to Barrow, a number of occasions. Jeremy mentioned this.
Well, that's why I said it's sensitive. Certain issues we can't prove. I think government has a stake and they need to take the stance of giving us information.
So this is another problem, another area that people want government to come clean. Just like the Gambia.
It will be to the interest of Gambia and Gambians if we know what we have and what is possible. It's very, very important. But if you just leave it with people pointing fingers, saying other issues, it could escalate.
By now, we try to get the petroleum people and all that, but anybody you mention, I mean, he either don't have them or
you can't brush Jammeh's claims aside. He has been taking the steps, taking students to study in Taiwan, and that's what they were studying. Some even went to the extent of going for internship in other countries like Venezuela, I think even Qatar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He would not do all that if something was not available.
He said it. I mean, he was head of state, so
yes.
you cannot take his word.
That needs to be looked at. And the 5%, they offered him, he rejected it.
Yeah,
why would you offer me 5% when there's nothing?
He said that even when he was in
the possibilities were there. And they will not come and make an offer if they cannot verify. It's not making sense. I am saying, you heard that, I sell sheep, maybe. You want to come and make an offer, you don't even verify whether I have it or not. That is not sensible to me. Something must have been cooking. Was it right for them to dish out? I can tell. But something was cooking and it started smelling. This is how best I can describe it. Well, the government, of course. And there's a ministry responsible for petroleum. No matter the changes, they should have some records, and there are staff that have been working there. Even those who went to Taiwan for training, they're still there. Some I know them personally. Some are friends.
So the government should come out rather than waiting until this rumor snowballed into another gala type of protest.
That's always the norm here. When people make noise and start beating drums, that when the government, it forces them to come out. But for me, I believe government should be a step ahead of the people. You don't need to wait for people to shake it.
That's right.
So that you
I have said this. In order to control the narrative, you should explain to people.
Yes.
Today we have done this. Today we have done this. So that people will always be following you.
Yep.
And not you following people.
I agree.
You talk about information.
Information. It's what I said in the beginning.
This oil business.
Yeah. Like Mr. Jah said, it does not make sense for negotiations to reach a level where they are offering a particular percentage because they would have done their research, their homework to know, yes, there is something. And out of this, we are offering you 5%. If they did not know, they did not check, they did not do any research, then they would not have reached a level where they are offering. So that tells me that there is something we have. Whether it is a lot or not, that is not clear. But the fact that it is there, I believe that there is, because these companies, they act on how to get profit.
Yep.
So they cannot negotiate something when it is not there. Definitely. That is a given. So whether now the claim that Senegal is taking, that is something else completely. But the point is, as a government that is elected for by the people to serve a particular purpose, something as important as this, and something that has the potential of creating a lot of chaos, like Mr. Jah said, it's so important that they should have been ahead of the people, informing them at every step what they are doing, where we are, whether we have X or Y. That should have been given. Now that it has reached a stage where someone, a former president, has made these claims, and it is in the public space, so it is incumbent upon the government to come out and say, okay, this is what is happening. We have done this or that. This company has said this or that, and inform the people. But if they remain quiet as they are, and people keep talking about this, especially now that these claims have been made by the former president implicating or making allegations against another country, that has potential to cause a lot of problems.
Yes.
I don't know why.
Jammeh's allegations will go viral.
Okay,
They
already have.
Yeah.
I'm sure the media has reached out to them, the Ministry of Petroleum. Why aren't they coming
At the
to tell
moment,
the
the
people?
Senegalese press will pick Jammeh's allegations.
Exactly.
And the Senegalese government will be in
Yes. They will respond. They will talk to their media.
They will talk.
There's no doubt.
Unlike the Gambia government. They will come.
Where this culture of silence has it's been so pervasive in everything. Unless there is pressure, they will not come out and tell people. Yeah. Why have a whole Ministry of Information, Communication, and have a a government spokesperson, and then do not inform the people? What's the purpose of having the platform to inform people if you aren't going to inform them anyway? And every ministry has communications unit. So I don't understand. Communication is key.
But is it possible, that Senegal, as Jammeh alleged, would have what people couldn't understand is, okay, why is Senegal's wells that they said are very close to ours, are found to be viable, and maybe in fact started whatever, whether they've started drilling or whatever.
They explore it.
Yep. How is it possible that two different, basically the same area, are all said to be potentially having oil, and then one part is working, the other one is not yet. People are saying that there is a very, very strong possibility that, oil is the Gambia's part also has been exploited by Senegal. Jammeh made these allegations very clear. How do we go about this?
Like I said, I saw the map, and the map, what it had portrayed is Gambia has. Not only
that's
Gambia,
what's been demonstrated.
Yes, in that map, Gambia, Senegal, Bissau, and Mauritania. It's like we.
And I had Senegalese government signing some agreements with those two. Recently, Usman Sonko was in Guinea-Bissau. He talked about gas. In Mauritania, he talked about this.
Yeah, because those countries are exploring. They're on top of issues. Unlike us, we're not hearing anything. For me, this is the difference. And in that map, a greater portion of it, it's on the side of Gambia. So it's like Gambia has more the map I saw. It's not like from hearsay.
Yeah, you saw it.
I saw that map. And
that seemed to...
This was in 2017.
And it seemed to suggest that, in fact, there are more oil on the Gambian side than the Senegal.
Yes. According to the map I saw.
Is that this so-called Sangomar field you're talking about?
Yep. Sangomar and other fields. It's not only one. It's about three. The ones I saw in that map, about three. It was all high.
Where is it dislocated? Exactly
where?
Any nearby town?
No, I can't remember exactly, but it's in the border with Senegal.
In the north? In the north, not in the south?
No, not south.
It's in the north?
Yeah, north. It will be north, because the southern part is the Casamance area.
So it should be,
north and south. Yes.
Okay.
Because one thing about issues, especially when I started surfacing in the media, I came in contact with so many people who used to work in government, and some who were in government. They engaged me, some on telephone calls, some I sat with them personally. They gave me a lot of information.
And they would not come out to the media.
Most of which I was not giving evidences. I could not ascertain whether it's true. So I never sat in media platforms to talk about it.
I know.
I only spoke about once I was ascertained. I knew that these were things that were factual. But up till today, I have a lot of information that has been given to me, but I can verify
and those people who are in the know will not come out of the... See, that's the problem with Senegal. The difference between Senegal and the Gambia is the problem. People who are knowledgeable will come out when issues arise and enlighten everybody.
Yep.
But if I take the trouble we took these last 3 days to get people who are in the know to come here, and they will say, no way! They won't reply to you.
People are very scared about media in this country.
No, but
I would give you examples. Take, for example, me. From 2018, from 2020, it started from 2020. A lot of people started approaching me, telling me, if you don't leave the media, you'll never get a job in this country. leave the media, or you will never get a job in
As if
this
you are
government.
looking only for a job.
Exactly. Because sometimes the issues you discuss, you sound your opinion, they take it something big.
Absolutely.
I meet with people, even those who work in government, they tell me, I'm not happy with you. I said, what happened? You've said this, you said that on me. I said, what I said, was it factual, or did I lie? No, what you said is true, but the way and manner you said it. So that's the fear some people have. Even if they come to the media, say think their jobs are at stake.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, especially those working in government, to have them come to the media to talk about certain issues.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
But
This I can tell you.
But didn't that started under Yona? Yeah. Sack everybody.
Yeah,
But it's still meant.
we said it's a change and things have to look differently. And here it's not about you spilling the beans or coming to be a whistleblower. It's for you to clarify the rumors.
The things that
Because,
are
like I said, I once did a training organized by the National Youth Council. The topic was about how they call it again, false news, something like that.
Yeah, misinformation or
False news. You know, fake news, right?
news.
I said, okay, it becomes fake news to you because you know the truth.
Yes.
But somebody who doesn't know the truth, that's a piece of information.
Yes.
Information is information.
Yeah.
Unless and until somebody comes and says, no, this is not authentic. That's when you will agree that then it's fake news.
And mostly people who are in authority and knows the subject matter are the ones people trust.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then you don't get them to come to the public in the Gambia. Like, for instance, like what you said.
No,
and their job.
So he has talked about information.
Yeah.
Especially effective communication is part of good leadership.
Absolutely.
When you as a leader, you should communicate with the people, not only telling them what they need to hear, but listening is another good skill of a leader.
You know, when you talk to them, they will say, in government, there's no secret way. We do everything on behalf of the people. But you see how other governments run. You know, government they are the ones who owe people explanations. Because you are working for the people.
Exactly.
Anything you do, and it's a major decision on behalf of the people, you should come out. That's why you see White House, Buckingham Palace, everywhere the press is there. Because they know that what we are doing, we're doing for the people.
For the people.
So we should daily explain, we have taken this decision. We have taken this decision. So you control the narrative. People follow you, not you follow people. But unfortunately here, you don't have that.
That has become common. Remember
this? Where all these problems happen. People know about things in the last minute, and the government is put under pressure, and then you say, if you had done it earlier, there wouldn't have any suspicion.
Yeah.
That's why there's a need for independent, free press. Because when an issue breaks out, people know the position of everybody. Yes. Automatically, you know the position of everybody. And then no suspicion. And then you move on. But then when there is no information, people build suspicions, and then anger, and then explosion.
explosion, yeah.
So that's where the problem is.
Remember this, was it about the Senegambia bridge or that agreement which was signed?
Yes,
people only knew about it because it was reported in some other country. I can't remember which country.
It was in Togo. It was a meeting in Togo.
Exactly.
And the Togolese newspaper, Togolese press,
Can you imagine?
Press pick it.
Can you
So it
imagine?
became threats to the Gambia.
You know?
When actually it was taken on behalf of the Gambia.
Yeah.
So that's the type of
That's
thing
why
that they should
And the
avoid.
Ministry of Finance had to publish it later on on their website. So you see, those kind of things,
There's
you
communication.
explain to people before anything, and if you do it daily, you control the narrative.
Control the narrative, yeah.
But that's not what's happening.
So that is one thing that the government needs
So
to
what do you think, finally, gentlemen? We mentioned the necessity for the importance for government to come out and clear the air. But don't you think, like you said, potentially, how do you think will Senegal react to this? And is it even possible that the new government, if it is possible under Macky Sall, as alleged by Jammeh, is it possible that the new leadership in Dakar would know about Gambia's resources being used by Senegal, yet, as Jammeh alleged, just snub it aside?
Well, it's a government. It's a continuation. I believe the facts would be there. It will be available. If they dig, they should be able to know.
And they are digging because they are trying to say they will stop all negotiation and renegotiate.
Yes.
In the process, they should be able to find out exactly where
For Macky, I can vividly tell you that Macky knew.
Macky knew.
It's a matter of what has been documented, what proof can they find. Because at times there are things that you go and negotiate and do. Is it on paper? If yes, is it accessible to others, or do you keep it in your own personal briefcase, or one you can travel with, and that's it? Sometimes it's all about the type of leadership in place.
Yes.
And Maki, people knew that Maki had an iron fist. When he wanted something, he goes for it.
He got for it.
Yes. And people who challenged him, he will rescue you down.
He either find illegal loopholes to
Exactly.
to eliminate you one way or the other.
Yes. And even at some point in time, his brother was pinpointed that he was in charge of negotiating and running those businesses. That's why I said Maki knows. About this current bastard government, I think they need to do a lot of digging.
Jammeh's alleged that they must probably know.
Yeah. It's not as easy as Jammeh might emphasize, because he does not understand how the government is functioning presently. You could have an idea when you were there, Macky Sall was there, but today, Pastor is definitely different.
It's different.
And they're trying to put their house in order, fighting corruption, this and that. So their focus could be somewhere else rather than digging into this. But Jammeh, having made these claims now I believe they will not ignore it. They will also try to look into it. And they will come up with either a press conference or something to clarify the air. For them, they will. And the Senegalese media too, they'll pick it up.
It's already there, man. If they will not allow it, it's already there.
Yep.
Jammeh accused Senegal of telling, and then what? Jammeh accused Senegal of stealing Gambian. So that will compel us to explain. Our government should explain.
They should indeed, because otherwise the Senegalese side, they will explain to them, because their media will reach out to them, and they will not hold back. They will say what
citizenship. Are you stealing Gambia?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
It's also my belief, because of recent it's been happening when certain issues become a matter of national concern. They'll call for cabinet meeting, look into it, discuss. The president might address the nation, or the ministry, or somebody would go to the media and shed some light. I'm seeing a shift, in how it used to happen compared to now. I don't think they will allow the people to say they will protest or take to the streets again before they come up with a step.
So we hope the government, petroleum ministry, or the president
will address,
come out and say, even if for nothing,
what they know and what is
if for nothing, but at least reply to Jammeh's allegation. So Jammeh is not a small fish, even though he's ex-president. But he seemed to be saying something from state.
He has been in the picture. He was offered 5%. So he knows what has been transparent.
So in this case, Jammeh is an important entity.
Indeed.
So the government should come out and speak to people about it. All right, gentlemen. Musa, teacher, activist, and analyst. Thank you very much. Also an author. Thank you very much for being on the Brunch.
Thank you.
Honorable Dodou Jah, very much again for your insightful perspectives on affairs on the Brunch all the time. We are very grateful. The Brunch will be back next week, inshallah. Okay. Very much. And you.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Bruceby opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
Agada.
Mbijan raganyadi.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyinji.
Okay. Korsa. Nsila ID soto.
Ah, that's sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka. Mbale ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom Yona Forest de Bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe ko.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi topoto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi ma ni domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni na lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bu kanila ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.